What if I told you the scariest movie monster is the one you never even see? Well, according to the master of suspense himself, Alfred Hitchcock is famously quoted for saying,
"Good evening."
"There is no terror in the bang, only in the anticipation of it." Hitchcock recognized the potency of human imagination, firmly believing that by leaving certain aspects open to interpretation, the viewer's engagement and fear would be heightened.
Now, the thing about horror films is that it's always what they don't show that's scary, because nothing on the screen can ever be as truly frightening as what we imagine.
He reshaped the thriller genre by prioritizing anticipation over mere shock value. In his films, the build-up to a climactic moment took precedence, as he knew that the audience's imagination and anticipation possessed a greater ability to evoke fear than the actual bang itself. But we're talking about movie monsters, right? And the monsters in his films were often ordinary people driven by complex motivations, moral dilemmas, or psychological conflicts. He usually explored the darker aspects of human nature rather than relying on monsters or creatures. But despite that fact, his influence can certainly still be felt in the Creature Feature Hall of Fame. One, in particular, was directed by a young filmmaker whose Little Shark movie implemented Hitchcock's techniques largely by accident.
My name is Steve Spielberg, and I just directed a movie called Jaws.
Now, would you believe, as Steven Spielberg was directing the world's first summer blockbuster, a lot of his good fortune actually came from bad luck. In 1975, Jaws took the slow reveal to new depths, making audiences wait 1 hour and 21 minutes before the iconic shark made its first appearance. This, however, was not really intentional, but more like a filmmaker using his misfortune to his advantage. Bruce, the animatronic shark from Jaws, was notoriously difficult to work with. Named after Steven Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce is actually a combination of a fin-only rig, which was basically just pulled through the water, as well as 3 animatronic sharks. One that moved from left to right, another which moved from right to left, and a shark sled. No, not that kind of sled. The shark sled was an animatronic shark attached to a large arm that went back and forth along an underwater rail mounted to the sea floor. Each shark had a steel skeleton, hydraulics to open and close their mouths, and air-powered pneumatic mechanisms that moved various parts of the body. But there was one major problem. They never tested them in salt water.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
One of the sharks sank as soon as it was put into the water. The others just wouldn't work. The salt water was absorbed by the rubber skin, ruining the carefully sculpted shape, which also wreaked havoc on the state-of-the-art mechanisms that brought the shark to life.
Electrolysis is a major problem when you get salt into all the machinery, into the electrical system.
Because every time they tried to test the shark, it would come up like, or its eye would fall out.
Oh no!
Now over budget, way behind schedule, and without a working shark, the 26-year-old director was forced to find a way to create suspense and terror. Spielberg's solution gave the film a level of suspense no functioning animatronic shark ever could. Think about the iconic opening sequence of Jaws. This is a masterclass in unseen terror. A couple of young lovers decide to go for a swim after dark, completely unaware of the danger lurking below the surface. Spielberg starts building the tension with a POV shot. The guy passes out on the beach, saving himself from the monster, but the young woman was not so lucky. Suddenly, she's pulled under, and we watch in horror as the shark's first victim is violently dragged back and forth before disappearing beneath the waves. Then, silence, punctuated only by the ringing bell of the buoy. Not once do we get a glimpse of the shark. No fin, no tail, nothing. In a masterstroke of ingenuity, Spielberg employed a classic Hitchcock technique by using the camera to simulate the point of view of the shark, and by allowing us to imagine just how huge the sea monster must be. He crafted one of the most terrifying movie openings in filmmaking history. David Mamet once said, "The genius of Jaws is the ability to terrify us with a shot of empty ocean." One great aspect of having a movie monster that lives underwater is you can show the creature's influence on the world above through the use of very selective props. Whenever the animatronic shark wasn't working, but they needed to signify that the shark was near, Spielberg turned to these yellow barrels. Their intentional color contrasted the darkness of the water, and they helped us understand the size and strength of this great fish as Jaws effortlessly pulled the barrels underwater. Even the planks of a wooden pier become synonymous with the beast below. In this scene, two opportunistic locals aim for the $3,000 prize by trying to catch the shark using
My wife's holiday roast.
attached to a tire with a chain. Now, the cleverness of the scene lies in the parallel action. We cut back to Chief Brody flipping through books about sharks, and thus we are subliminally shown images of sharks and shark attack victims. So when the unseen monster emerges, dragging a section of the pier, it doesn't require a great stretch of the imagination to envision the shark and what might happen should it catch up with you. The clear reflection of the shark book in Chief Brody's glasses also adds a symbolic layer to the narrative. It serves as a visual metaphor for just how much the beast has infiltrated his mind. Because he set up everything so well, showing Charlie and his pals securing the roast to the tire and the chain to the pier, coupled with Brody's monstrous images in his book, Spielberg has completely sold us on the idea that this floating piece of a broken dock is the shark, and we are Charlie. As he clamors to get out of the water, we squirm, clench our fists, and instinctually lift our own legs up in the air just to try and keep them out of the water. Meanwhile, we have once again seen no fin, no tail, no shark.
Can we go home now?
Spielberg relied on this technique for over half the movie. We either see the legs of swimmers from the shark's perspective or catch quick glimpses of the shark obscured by splashing water. In fact, the shark only appears for 4 minutes. That's around 3% of the movie's entire runtime. But there's another element of suspense that was essential in bringing the unseen monster to life in our imagination, and that was the genius of John Williams' score. The theme music we hear every time the shark is near is mostly just 2 notes repeating, but Williams understood the psychological power of music. Those 2 notes became synonymous with approaching danger. When the shark was further away, they were slower and softer, and when it was closer, they became faster and louder. Williams described the repetition of the 2 notes as grinding away at you, just as a shark would do, instinctual, relentless, unstoppable. This is also very Hitchcockian.
Yeah, that's better.
Think about the shower scene from Psycho. Written by composer Bernard Herrmann, that 1 note stabbing over and over felt like a knife to your ears. In Jaws, the 2 notes make you feel like the prey, like you want to check over your shoulder because surely something menacing is approaching. You could even compare the music to a heartbeat or breathing getting faster and faster until suddenly, at the point of attack, it ruptures, signifying the demise of the shark's victim.
It was a total disaster. We never fixed the shark, but in the cutting room I was able to use so little of it and imply so much more that when you finally do see the shark, it's a little bit lethargic, and that's where the story demanded that I show more than just the dorsal fin. And that was the last few minutes of the movie.
But here's the part no one ever really wants to talk about, because we all know the director is the one who gets all the glory, and Steven Spielberg is certainly a genius. I mean, he's literally my favorite filmmaker. But a great deal of why the movie Jaws works so well should be credited to Verna Fields, aka Mother Cutter. Verna Fields was the editor on Jaws, and Spielberg described her as very earthy and maternal. She used to cut her films at her cozy pool house in the San Fernando Valley. It was here that she and Spielberg fought it out and made Jaws into the legendary film it is today.
That's the spot, Steve.
Verna was always pushing him to show the shark less and less, and Spielberg was trying to squeeze in one more shot anywhere he could. And who could blame him? It likely took him days to get that shot, in the ocean, on a barge, for multiple days just trying to get the shark to look real. But the sad truth he eventually had to face was Mother Cutter was right, and the shark would only look real in 36 frames, not 38. And those 2 frames were the difference between something absolutely terrifying and, in Spielberg's own words, something that looked like a
Great white turd.
Smile, you son of a...
So, I think we understand what made Jaws scary and how they achieved that nail-biting suspense. But what is it about Jaws that makes us connect to the film? I think when a filmmaker chooses to delay the monster reveal, they do provide the audience with more time to connect with the characters. Emotional investment in the protagonist heightens the stakes, making the impending encounter with the monster not just a physical threat, but an emotional one as well. So does following the legendary Jaws rule of keeping your movie monster hidden actually amp up the tension and land you in the realm of critical acclaim? Or do the real thrills come from the story? I know part of the genius of Jaws is its homage to the Hitchcock tradition of invoking fear through the unknown. The empty ocean, the barrels, the music, and crucially, what is left unseen. But I think it's our investment in the characters and the story that elevates it beyond a mere creature feature and solidifies Jaws as a timeless masterpiece of modern cinema.
Time will only tell, when Jaws will fade from the collective memory.
But I think as long as there are sharks in the sea, and as long as there are kids with imagination, Jaws is going to be probably around for a long time.